can have 10 positive experiences and think that's wonderful and move on. You have one negative one and you go, oh my goodness. And it stops you in your tracks, right? And then you have to reassess and go, what was that all about? So they tend to stick. And that's what makes people cautious and tentative instead of intrepid.
Hello, beautiful souls. It's Vivienne here, and welcome back to the 100 Successful Women, a Conversation to Inspire series, episode number 89. In today's episode, it feels a little different, a little deeper, and honestly, quite divine. And speaking of divine, I just realized something funny while editing this episode. My video today was accidentally recorded vertically instead of the usual horizontal format we normally do. And honestly, this somehow feels so fitting for this conversation. Different, creative, unexpected. My guest today is the beautiful Sondy Ward, an artist, speaker, storyteller, and woman of deep faith who believe creativity is more than talent. It's actually a conversation with God. Through prophetic art, storytelling, and community, Sondy helps women reconnect with the parts of themselves they may have forgotten, their creativity, their calling, and their voice. This episode is gentle, powerful, and filled with wisdom that might have just awakened something inside of you too. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's dive into this beautiful conversation with Sondy Ward. Hello, Sondy. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Vivienne. I'm fabulous, as always.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, Sondy. So first of all, can you tell us where are you tuning in from?
I'm in Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne. So for
Yeah.
those of you listening, I didn't realize that Sondy is not that far from me. I've been seeing her on Zoom rooms and seeing her speaking in the tournament. She's one of the top 10. Is that right?
I did get to top 10 in the Next Top Speaker tournament. I was as amazed as anybody.
Congratulations. You did amazing. And I remember part of your speech, but we probably will talk a little bit more during our conversation. Welcome again, Sondy.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I've been looking forward to getting to know you more too.
Thank you so much, Sondy. I really excited that we are going to have this conversation because I look at Sondy's work and I'm amazed with what she is doing. So one of the first questions that I always ask this 100 successful women guests is that, Sondy, I know that you are a speaker, obviously. You are also an artist, someone with the creative arts or creative leaders, I would say, and community leaders as well. So beyond all this, Sondy, who are you at your core?
At my core, I'm a child that keeps wondering.
Tell us more. What does that mean? Keep wondering.
I'm a 3-year-old inside that keeps being fascinated with what's around me. Oh my goodness, look at that. What's that all about? You know, the world is so fascinating to me. People are so fascinating to me. Um, I call art alchemy because you're you're using pigment and an idea and a surface and making something meaningful and that can touch people deeply and reveal something about yourself at the same time. It is an alchemy. It's better than gold. It's better than making gold.
Oh,
So
wow. I never
yeah,
heard of that answer before, Sondy. It got me into like I have goosebumps listening to you because that's something that I think when we grow older and older, we tend to lose that, right? Wonder or curiosity. That's I think something that we probably have to tap into and we tend to forget about it.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
It's the core of who we are, right?
yes,
It's
I love
it's
that. Thank you
uh,
so much.
older people tend to, well, when I say older people, as we get older and have
Mm,
experiences, they tend to make us shy away, distrust
Mm,
if they're negative experiences. And the trouble is, we remember the negative experiences more than we remember the positive ones. You can have 10 positive experiences and think that's wonderful and move on. You have one negative one and you go, oh my goodness. And it stops you in your tracks, right? And then you have to
yeah,
reassess and go, what was that all about? So they tend to stick. And that's what makes people cautious and um, tentative instead of intrepid.
that's right. So true. I think it's so true. And especially because we are older now, we probably wouldn't be we we don't experience as in like we don't feel sorry because but then I feel really sorry, especially for the younger generation when we know that is actually the case, right? When we know that younger generation, when they were told to stop being curious, and that's how a kids was limited by their box or limitation. And I love
Yeah,
what you're doing, and it's so needed, especially for the younger generation, Sondi.
yeah, yeah. We need more curiosity. That's how we invent things.
That's right.
We need more courage because that's how we be persistent.
Mm-hmm.
And a combination of imagination and persistence, there are things in the world that are yet to be invented. We hear about new things being invented all the time, but how many of us are actually doing the inventing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes, so true. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sondi. I'm so excited to find out more how we can tap into that curiosity or wonder that you mentioned. So, can you share with us? Because I look at your work, you actually describe your art sometimes reveals meaning after the process. Almost like I know that you are very big advocates about the God, you mentioned about a conversation between you or someone with God, especially. How did you start this journey? What got you into this journey?
So my journey with God began very young because my mother used to have a picture of Jesus and the Sacred Heart. It's a little Catholic symbol in the hallway, and she never let the light go out. Every time, she kept a spare bulb there all the time, and that
Mm-hmm.
ignited my curiosity. And I was brought up Catholic, but I walked away from that when I was about 14 when I heard about something that a model Catholic, had done, which now I would forgive because I would think, yes, someone in that position, I can understand how they'd lose the plot.
Mm-hmm.
As an adult, I can understand that now. But as a 14-year-old, I thought, if that's what this is all about, I'm out. So I knew there was a God somewhere and I wanted to go and find him. So I experimented, I explored, and every time I came across something that said, no, this is not the way, I thought, okay, not that way. So I'll keep looking, but in different ways. So I kept looking until I met these two girls once, and they asked me, if there was a way to know God personally, would you want that? And I said, you'd have to be an idiot not to want that if that was possible. So they led me to pray a prayer that went something like, Lord, reveal yourself to me. I want to know who you are. I know I'm not God. I'm just a person, but you are, and I want to know you, and I want to experience you, and so on. Anyway, I walked out of that building, and I hit a cold, steely grey Melbourne day. We used to all eat at the Commonwealth Bank cafeteria. The whole street did. It was supposed to just be for the Commonwealth Bank, but everyone used to go there because you
Uh-huh.
used to get subsidised meals, right? So that's where I was, and I walked out of there, and I took about 3 steps, and it felt like something from heaven fell into my body. It was like, boom, there it was. And I remember, because I thought, God might reveal himself to me when I was in my 80s, old and wise,
Uh-huh.
and had done enough study,
How old were you at the time?
about 20.
Mm-mm.
2021, something like that. And I remember looking at my hand, thinking to myself, this is not my hand anymore. This is God's hand now. And I remember wanting to love and hug everyone on the street and tell them how much God loves them and how much I love them. And literally, the street was gold. I was looking at golden pavement. And I stayed in this state for about 3 days and then it disappeared. Now, during that time, I don't know how I worked. I know I lost the handbag someone had just given me for my birthday. I was in a state. I can't describe it except to say that it was glorious, right?
Mm.
The only person I knew to ask about it was a guy who used to run, his name was Ray Richardson. He was in his 70s and he was part of the ecumenical movement. He used to run a little art shop in an arcade, and I used to go in there and ogle all the wonderful things I couldn't afford. I used to, oh, I wish I could have that. Oh, $30, you know. Anyway, I said to him, something's happened to me, and I wanted to ask him about it. And he asked me, what is it? And I said, well, this wonderful thing happened, and what have I done wrong? Because it's gone. And he said, no, no, no. He said, you haven't done anything wrong. God's given you a foretaste of glory, some way that there is never going to be any way that you could deny him or his existence or his presence with you. But he can't leave you in that state because you never get sick, you never get tired. It's like a foretaste of living in heaven. And you'd never be able to relate to anyone. And I said, well, what do I do now? He said, find yourself a Bible, start reading it, find yourself a church where they love God and love one another. And that's a
Mm.
good start. And I followed that advice, and here I am, eons later. Yeah,
Wow. So that's magical. It's like all of the sudden it come from like that's the real experience that you experience then.
it was a spiritual experience. There's no other way I can describe it, except that I knew love was involved because I just felt overwhelming uh, joy and benevolence towards people.
So
And
prior to that experience, was there how was that Sondy before that experience?
uh, timid, constrained, um, following the rules, trying to figure out what life was all about. I was married uh, in a in a not very helpful situation. We divorced. We were only married 4 years, but my daughter came from that union, and I'm so grateful for that because she's a
Mm.
treasure. And about a few years later, I remarried, and I've been married to Rob now for 42 years. So,
Mm.
um, you know, uh, it takes two to tango. I probably played my part in it, but my first husband was a charmer. However, his idea of marriage was not to stay faithful.
Mm.
So it wasn't very, well, it wasn't very conducive to a lasting arrangement, put it that way.
Yes. But
Yeah.
that's the experience, and then that's how and why you get to meet a better one, right?
Yeah. So Rob is quiet, patient, calm. Uh, he knows how to love. He's very affectionate. He doesn't champion me as such, but in his heart he treasures me, and he puts a lot of other husbands to shame because he just he just serves me, which is so um, humble of him. You know, he's
That's
he's just
beautiful.
amazing. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. So how about your art journey? How do you get into art then, Sondi?
Well, the first painting I ever remember painting was when I was 4. My mum and dad lived next door to a German couple, and I used to go to their house a lot too because they had books and art craft material in their garage and they let me play.
Mm-mm.
So I used to go in there and read books and paint. And pretty much that's still my life. I read books and paint. Anyway, I painted this painting of a snow scene. Imagine a snow scene. It had a river and two trees on the top of the hill, and that was it. But they saw something in it. They came rushing over to my parents and said, "Look what she's done." Anyway, people, you know, raved about it and said, "Oh, maybe you're going to be a famous artist one day." And
Mm-mm.
it was the first time I remember getting praise for anything I'd drawn or painted. But I drew or painted ever since. There was only one instance where I stopped painting for 14 years because I realised the seductive pull of art and imagery, and I didn't want two masters. I wanted to serve God, not art. I saw that art was a tool and it was an expression and a means, much like um, food. It keeps you alive. It's wonderful, but you don't worship it, right?
Mm-mm.
You don't bow down to it. You don't become its. Um, food doesn't rule me. Put it that way. And I didn't
Mm-mm.
want art to rule me. I
Yeah.
wanted art, any art that I produced or any art that I was involved in, to actually give glory back to the creator.
So that's how your creative journey became more spiritual nowadays.
Well, I said to God, if I'm never going to paint again, and if you want me to paint, you're going to have to ask me personally. So 14 years later, I was part of a group that was organising conferences for young people. And one of the guys on the board was going to America, and the Ugandan ambassador to Washington had said to him, "Look, Gavin, look at my foyer. It's empty. I want some artwork in there, you know." And he
Mm-mm.
said, "Leave it to me. I'll organise something." So he knew that I used to paint, and he said, "I wonder whether you would be interested in doing a painting for this lady's foyer." So he'd asked a photographer and a sculptor and various types of artists.
Uh-huh.
But I was the painter he asked. And I said, "Let me pray about that, Gavin, and I'll get back to you." And I felt God say, "Yes, I want you to do a painting." And it was the first painting I'd done in 14 years. It was a painting of a Ugandan guy kneeling in the prayer position with his head down on the floor, with his hands outstretched like this. Inside his body was the Ugandan flag. It was on his hoodie, a
Mm-mm.
t-shirt, jumper, whatever. He was carrying the Ugandan flag, and at the top was a row of panels, and at the bottom was a row of panels. The row of panels at the bottom and top had an eye, an ear, a heart, a brain, hands, a mouth, and eyes. And so the ones on the bottom were a screaming mouth, crying, terrified eyes, a cloudy brain, a heart that was upside down and with scars all over it, an ear that had no earring in it, and grasping hands, right? And there was a chain right through them. And at the back of him was a cross, and the cross beam of the cross had a whole heap of symbolic people, all in different skin tones, holding hands. They were praying. And from the edge of the cross where the people were praying fell a set of keys. The keys were to open the lock that was chaining up these things. And at the top, it was a smiling mouth, smiling eyes, a glorious golden brain, an earring with an ear with an earring in it, giving hands, and a heart that was right way up and shining and healthy and all the rest of it. So the story was that everyone together praying for Uganda with this guy would give him the keys to unlock the chain that would release all the earthly things and turn them into things that were in heaven the right way, So that's the painting that went. And
Oh,
I was very pleased to have painted it. I don't know where the idea for it came. I think the title was supposed to be for God and for my king and country, and for my king and my country, and my king's God. So but this guy's king, I don't know who this guy's king was in the painting, but the cross of Christ was behind him. So and his country was Uganda, and he was a flame. His whole being was a flame as well. So he was in prayer for his own country, but as he prayed, he got given the keys.
would you have a pictures of the painting?
I have a very, very poor quality photograph somewhere.
Oh, it'd be
Um,
fantastic if we
oh,
get to see that.
you know, I didn't actually get to go to Uganda to deliver it because I had breast cancer and I ended up in hospital being operated on when Gavin went with all the artwork.
Uh-huh.
But this is a picture of him. This is Gavin.
Delivering that. Uh-huh.
That's Gavin. They've just unwrapped the painting, which is here.
Uh-huh.
You can only see a portion of it.
Yeah.
And this is the Ugandan ambassador to Washington and someone else. And I do have a certificate somewhere where she said, "Thank you very much."
That's such a beautiful work that you are doing, Sondy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
And it's
so
such
much.
and very meaningful as well to create that masterpiece of yours with such a deep meaning.
It's the meaning I think that is important in any artwork, whether it's the meaning that the artist intends or the meaning that's received by the viewer. That's the important thing. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just about to soon, when I get round to it, because I'm in the middle of writing a book. I'm in the middle of learning public speaking. I'm in the middle of learning AI. I'm in two other courses, uh, I hope to finish and publish the book this year. But creating art and putting something on my on my website about the latest collections that I've been doing is on the list of things to do.
So
But
with saying that, Sunday, because you have been doing such a great work, especially being called by God and then the mission. So what is your core or your ultimate goals or your mission at the moment?
my mission is to start a movement of creatives who transform culture wherever they are. So having a core group of people who understand the principles of relating to one another in community really well, doing that using their creativity, because when you're in a group, I'll finish the sentence and I'll explain about why you're in your group. So a core group of creatives who know how to be with one another in a loving way, that affects the culture around them. It affects their families. It affects them. It makes them a cohesive community. It includes everybody. It's non-comparison. It's non-judgmental. It champions one another. People find a safe place there. But doing it with creativity means that you have a more authentic and deeper relationship with people, because as you express yourself authentically, whether it's with art or writing or sewing or crochet, whatever it is that you do, you know, you reveal more of yourself than you would with just chit chat.
Mm.
You know, getting together as a group just to, I don't know, socialize or chat about what you can do in the community or something like that is nice. But when you speak, you're selective with your words and you reveal only what you intended to reveal. When you paint or write, your signature is on it. It's like your soul is embedded in whatever you've created because you can't help but put out there what's in you. And sometimes it's a surprise to the artist. Sometimes when you're painting something, you see things that your conscious mind wasn't prepared to let your your unconscious mind wasn't prepared to let your conscious mind know about it, but here it is on paper or here it is on canvas, you know, and you think, oh, that had never occurred to me before, or you know, I didn't know that was in me, or you know, and so it reveals more. So we see more of one another when we observe each other's creativity, um, mingle with one another, offer our creativity to the others for critique or for, you know, how do you feel about this painting? You know, I had one guy, sometimes I paint live in front of people. It started in churches, now I do it at conferences and so on. And one painting that I did in a church sat in the church on an easel for about a week. And one guy walked in one Sunday and knelt in front of it and bawled his eyes out. I could not believe what just happened. Like, it was beyond my capacity to imagine that that was a possibility. You know, anyway, yeah, you can see where my wonder comes from, right? It's like, what just happened? You know, but anyway, something was happening inside his heart and he couldn't help but express.
Yeah, I was meant to say your work is so important, and you probably like you say, you wasn't expecting something like that happens, but the masterpiece that you created might have so much deeper meaning for someone else, and that masterpiece that you created is probably a message that you downloaded and then express it for someone else, and you don't know who is waiting for your message out there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it definitely resonated with him, right? So I think God might bring people along who He has prepared earlier, you know, to receive whatever the message is in the artwork.
Yeah,
And
so
this is
true.
what fascinates me, how I can get an idea. It's just an idea, you know. The latest painting I did was the first idea was an almond branch, an almond branch, and that reminded me in the Bible there's a, a bit about how God chose the priesthood in the Mosaic times, the Levitical priesthood. All the Israelite tribal leaders put their staff, a piece of stick, inside the ark, and it was Aaron's rod, which was an almond, an almond branch that budded, flowered, and fruited overnight. And you know, that's incredible. The life poured out of it so amazingly when it was in the presence of God. And that is such a great message, when we're in the presence of God, deliberately putting ourselves there in front of Him for Him to minister to. That's where the life is. So anyway, I had the idea of an almond rod doing just that, budding, flowering, and fruiting And I thought, how do I put it in the presence of God? And the thing that immediately came to me was, well, the Holy Spirit, and the symbol of that is a dove. So I had the dove hovering over it, and the almond rod pales into insignificance in the presence of the dove, right? But I also tried to convey the power of love emanating from the Holy Spirit at the same time doing the transformative work. And I'm to show you a picture of that, I have to use my phone.
Yeah, that would be great if you happy to share it. Like I'll be putting into the recording later so that people can have a quick snapshot of what is that, because you explained that it will be so good for us to see what is
Yeah.
that like.
The only problem is that my phone is acting as my light right now.
Oh, that's all right.
So,
That's we can.
but I can just darken myself and then go back. Let's see if I can find this picture.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Oh my goodness, that's so. I love that color and then the dove that you say. So it's a finished painting now.
It's a finished painting. I haven't had it photographed yet, which is why it's not on my website. But it's I haven't put the collection on the website because the others are part of that same collection. So when I get that photographed, um, a series of new paintings will go up on the website, and then people will be able to see them there and order prints and cards and whatever they want to do. But
Okay.
I've got an exhibition on at the moment um, at Red Tree Gallery in Jindivick, which is about an hour out of Melbourne. Gorgeous rolling hills. It's a beautiful site. Anyway, that closes on the 29th of April. If anyone wants to go and see the exhibition, it's a joint exhibition with my friend Kathy Scott. So a lot of my paintings are there. I've also got two paintings at Montsalvat at the moment. Montsalvat is it's the oldest continuously running artists colony in Victoria, but the only one I think that's still active. But that's the kind of thing that I'd like to institute. I have this big dream of some property on top of a hill with a massive car park with a gallery out the front and a conference centre behind it with breakout rooms for workshops or artists to rent, tiny houses on the property so that people can come from interstate and overseas to come and hear people speak there or participate in workshops, and a cafe alongside it so that we have all the meals sorted, run by another business, if whatever. I can just see that ongoing creativity and the flow of creativity needs to be nurtured, and having people speak about it, having people do it in front of you, having people participate in it, discover their own creativity, taking
Yeah.
bold steps to realize, oh, there's a part of me that I've never even explored before. My best friend Kathy, I used to run nurture groups for church, and I said to my pastor's wife, can I run this instead of, we used to maybe look at a book or do a Bible study or whatever. I said, can I run it as an art group? And I was amazed. She said yes. So instead of reading the scripture and discussing it, God would give me a scripture, we'd read it, and then we'd paint something. And then we'd discuss the paintings. And it was during one of those that Kathy came along, and she'd written a book, she wanted to paint the cover for her book, but she had been told as a child, don't bother with art class, you've got no talent. So she thought she couldn't paint. I said, of course you can paint. Anyway, I said, have a go, just have a go. And anyway, she produced a reasonable painting and she was happy with it. It was elephants in silhouette with African trees in the background. She used it as the cover for her book. And she's been painting ever since. And now she's selling paintings for over $5,000.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Talking about Katie, your best friend,
Yeah.
that's the next question that I want to ask you, Sondi, because a lot of women, especially, they feel disconnected. For example, your friend Katie, right? Disconnected from their creativity. So you mentioned she was told that she wasn't talented. What do you think, believing that's blocking these women from accessing this creative side of them?
One thing is that they'd never considered it.
Never considered.
Another thing could be that they've had a bad experience. Like
Mhm.
my husband was caught doing a drawing in school, and the teacher just grabbed it, ripped it up, and said, "You're not supposed to be doing that in class." But he was really enjoying it. He's never done any art since, never,
Mm,
you know. Uh, Other people think their talents lie in other areas, but they might be, you can't, a whole human being walks on two legs, not one.
mm,
And in the West, as a civilization, we think of creativity like this little child that comes along and shows us a picture, and we say, "That's nice, dear. Now go away and play. But let me get back to the real work." You
mm,
know, the real work might be, accounting or fixing a leaky pipe or the cooking or whatever it
yeah.
is that you have to do, have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't realize how much art is rest for our soul so that we can do those things better. And that's why there's so much burnout and overwhelm and mental illness, because we haven't made space for the things that nurture our souls.
So
Have
what do you
more
think
space.
if they want to start accessing to that creative side of them, what is the first step that they can start doing?
Grab a notebook with no lines in it and
Doodles?
ridiculous do a ridiculous little doodle every day. Draw, even just with black pen or a pencil, draw what's in front of you. Yeah, just silly little sketches. Start looking at YouTube videos and try a few things. Uh, if you're a writer, write a sentence a day, a sentence that's meaningful, a
Mm.
sentence that creates wonder for you. Not the the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Not that. Uh, Something that is inspiring.
I
Yeah,
love that. That's something that I never thought of doing that. And I would definitely, after this conversation with you, I'll go and grab one of the book and start bringing it around with me because it's something that we never thought of doing. We probably sometimes people talk a lot about journaling and scribbles, but I never thought of like drawing on paper, which you say draw anything right in front of you. I used to draw when I was younger as well, and it's it's not like I can draw really well, but it's making sense. I can at least get the shape of something in paper, and people think that it looks um they know what I was drawing, so at least it's making sense, right? That drawing of mine.
and the more you draw, the better you'll get at it. Because
Mm,
you'll think, oh, that handle doesn't quite look like that. Let's see if I can actually make it look like what it does look like.
mm,
Um, I remember having a conversation with a girlfriend who uh, we were just chatting, and I said to her, uh, "Are you an artist?" She said, "No, I'm a musician. I can't draw." And I said, "How much time do you spend practicing your music?" "Oh, every day, at least an hour a day." And I said, "If you practiced an hour a day drawing, you'd be just as good an artist as you are a musician." And you know what they say, 10,000 hours at anything makes you a master of it.
yep.
Uh, you know, 10,000 hours of doodling will make you master at doodling, but you soon get bored with doodling. You want to experiment a little bit more with shading or with colour or with something, because you get bored with the doodle. So you,
Mm-mm.
you want to push it a little bit further. And the more
Yes.
you push it, the better you get.
Yeah, so true. I love that. It's also where people it's a passion about as well, where's someone's passionate about that, they probably will spend lots of hours in doing that. But I think it's a great ways to tap into that. Who knows, we got the passion from just doing that.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Mm,
right.
yes, I love
Yeah.
that. I love what you're doing, Sondi, and I love your artworks, and I always so fascinated with what people's like creativities and how they come up with the drawing. So you talk about unlocking creative confidence. You mentioned about helping cultural transformation. So can you maybe give us some idea how does that look like in real life for the women's that maybe you're currently working with?
So Kathy and I have been running creative groups together for 7 years in her home, but prior to that I was doing some, and we've started groups and closed some groups. But we've learnt a lot of lessons along the way. One venue was given to us for free, and we thought, beauty, we could start another little hub here. But because of the lack of parking and the steep, narrow staircase, it wasn't really conducive to inviting people to that space, you know.
Mm-mm.
So after a year of trying to get people enthused about it, we decided to close it and put our efforts elsewhere. Sometimes you'll start a group and it's because the venue is owned by someone else, and things change in the governance of that venue, you have to retract, you know. So we've learned a few lessons, but we've also learned what does work. Um, what does work is food, fun, um, being creative together, championing one another, so that if someone's having an exhibition, or if someone's got a book launch, or if someone's got any event that they're willing to invite you to, go, support it. Um, you know, um, make sure that the people are heard and seen and valued in your group. We have learned these lessons and we're continuing with it now. The Kathy's group's on hold at the moment. She's recovering from chemo and a few other things. But last year I felt to start writing the book, and I'm halfway through it. But in the middle of that, uh, I felt that it was important to learn how to do online coaching. So I did that, and I coached two women, both of whom had amazing uh, transformations, and also, um, uh, you know, one of them is actually, her group is flourishing. The other one has just moved into the house where she'll finally have the space to run a group. But the idea is that women invite other women into their home or into a space, and together with another, like usually two people, because if one gets tired or sick, or you don't want to lose the momentum, so the other one can keep it going.
So the women that you coach, you help them to run the group.
Well, I help them run a group, and the vision I have is a group in every suburb and a group in every country town, right? So that people who feel like, I'm creative but I don't seem to fit in anywhere, where's a place for me where I can feel safe, where I can feel honoured, where I can feel known and uh, and championed in my endeavours. I want a group like that everywhere, so that people know that there is somewhere that they can go. You know, you have to find your tribe, as they say, and
Mm.
creatives need other creatives. They get inspiration from one another. They can be honest about each other's artworks without being negative. You know, if you show your artwork in the world, you get blank stares sometimes, and people are like, why would you bother? You know, I was doing a quilt once, and my husband said, why? It was a patchwork quilt, and he said, why bother cutting up a whole heap of material and then sewing it back together again?
That's creativity, right? That's creativity created along the way.
Yes, because you're sewing it together in different ways, and you're actually forming a picture that, or a something, a pattern that wasn't there before. It's a
Mm.
different expression, right?
So basically the group that you coach the women to run, it's based on creative arts, or is it different kind of like
Any kind of
expressive?
creativity. I mean, it could be a cooking club if they want to. It could be a gardening club if they want to. But we don't restrict who comes. Like we've in our creative group, we've had painters, weavers, photographers. One lady did do a quilt. There's a lady that just crochets all the time. That's what she does, and
Mm.
she gives her crochet things away to other people as gifts. That's her expression. There are all sorts of people that have come along. We've had guys come along, but they
Mm.
tend to not cope with the chatter. You know, the,
Mm. Amazing. I love that. I love that group that you are coaching women to create, and that's the ripple effects that you are creating there because the groups that you have and it's going to, like you say, extend it to other suburbs, others small country towns, and even other countries as well. I think that's such a great initiative that you're starting there, Sondi. I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for what you're doing, Sondi. And I think it's such a beautiful work that you are creating there. And I think it's so much needed in the world where the world is getting so noisy nowadays. And having that circus, it's creates so much more bonding and also to calm our mind, especially in this world. I love that. Thank you so much,
yeah,
Sondi.
and to be creative, you have to explore the unknown, right? You
Yes.
have to try something, and there's no such thing as a mistake in art because whatever it is, you can paint over it, you can
Mm.
fix it, you can transform it into something else. Sometimes your mistakes are actually your happiest little accidents that send you off on another trajectory. It's part of exploring the unknown, right?
Yes, I
And we
love
have
that.
we have a world that's trying to get us to fear.
Mm.
Everything you listen to is oh, this is dreadful and this is dreadful and the price of living and the war and this and that and the other. And this is a space where we can be fearless
Mm.
and forget about what's going on out there and look at what's going on in here, and together with each other.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing what you're doing, Sondi. And I love the mission that you currently having to create all these movement that you have. So where can people find you online, Sondi?
So I have a website, sondy.com. Some of my art is there, not all of it. What I offer is on there. The coaching is called HeartNet Creatives. If someone's interested in leading a group, I'd be interested in having a chat with them, see if they're a right fit. The public speaking I took on because I wanted to talk about this. I wanted
Yes.
to talk about how creativity transforms people and get people enthused about it. So I thought, well, if I'm going to speak, I might as well learn how to speak well. And the AI is because it's another tool, right? I'm not delegating everything to AI. I think if we do that, it will make us lazy. I want
Mm.
this faculty to be more powerful than the
Yes.
AI,
Yes.
but it's
True.
a good servant. It's a
Yeah.
good tool. It's a good. It's a use. It's like having a car. I
Mm.
can walk to Brisbane, sure, but if I have a car, I can get there a lot faster. And if I know that there's a plane, well, why not?
Yeah, definitely. With AI, sometimes with AI, it might be challenging and it's threatening for a lot of artists. But what you are doing cannot be replaced by AI because you are focusing on creativity side of people that can't be done with AI, and you have to go into the state of drawing, go into the state of having that creativity where your work is so important, actually something that much needed because people are depending on AI and they lost their creativity from there.
Yeah, and it can't replace the communal aspect either.
That's right. Yes, I
Get
love
to know
that.
people.
So important. Thank you so much for your sharing with us, Sondi. I think that's such a magical work that you are doing, and I really going to practice what you just shared with me to get that blank canvas, a small one, to carry it with me so that I start to maybe train my creativity side of me. And yes, I got inspired by that. Thank you so much,
That's fine.
Sondy. And
Um,
before we wrap up today's conversation, Sondy, is there what is the one piece of advice that you can give to other women out there listening, or they might get inspired by what you share?
listen to your heart.
Listen to your
M-
heart.
Make room and space for rest for your soul. Something to nurture yourself. Whether it's a bath with a bath bomb or a cup of tea while you do the crossword, or writing a poem, or doing something. But if you involve God with it, uh, He He leads people. There's only one creator, and the first thing He ever told us was that He was creative and that He made us in His image. So if we're made in His image, we're creative too. And if we ignore or put aside that side of us, we are doing ourselves a disservice. There's a little gift that I'd like to offer. So if people go to sondy.com.au/start, there's a little PDF there that is like a prayer prompt. It prompts you to pray about your inner world, uh, your outer world, and the people that you're with, and your creativity. So it asks a few questions that they're questions that you can ask God yourself. So in a way, you're designing your worlds with Him.
Mm.
Ask Him the question, see what comes back, see whether it sits right with you, and then act on that. So that's free for anyone who wants to make use of it. I thought I'd get people at least taking the first step.
Such a wonderful thing that you've been doing there, Sondi, and thank you so much for the free gift for us. And definitely, I will include the link so that people can get access to the free gift that was given by Sondi. Thank you so much, Sondi. It is such a beautiful conversation with you, and I learned so much from you and love your work. And yeah, thank you so much for your time with us, Sondi. And before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like me to ask that I haven't asked yet?
No, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share my heart. There's nothing that you could ask me. I want to know more about you. I'm
Yes.
looking forward to coming to Sydney and having a couple with you, maybe even doing some artwork.
Yes, I would love that. Definitely, we will connect with Sondi again, and looking forward to something that you have in painting, with especially the conference center that you mentioned. I would see, and hopefully to see that in vision and in real life very soon as well, Sondi.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to that conference after.
All right then. Thank you so much, Sondi, and looking forward to see you and hear from you in the future.
Thank you so much, Vivienne. God bless you.